Everybody, what's going on? This is Jen catching you on my downtime. Hope you're all having a good one. This is a video response to Tattsdeej and his video vlog on parenting. And I did leave a text comment saying, when I see, when I see an old teacher, someone's mom or dad, or someone's mom and dad, it's always Mr. or Mrs. enter their last name. Hi, Mrs. Dawson, hi, Mr. Uriola, or, I don't know, what's my next door neighbor's last name? I'm sorry, I've been up all night. Oh, gosh. It's driving me crazy. You guys get the point. Hi, Mrs. Myers, whatever, right? In my generation growing up, we were always taught to do that. Always regard an adult or an elder as Mr. or Mrs. or Miss and their last name. Never call them by their first names. That was always considered to be disrespectful. And that's one thing that I grew up knowing what to do. Went out in public as a kid and I'm talking to adults. It was always Mr., Miss, or Mrs. And, when I was a kid, even if I did regard an adult, by their first name, it was always Miss. Like, oh, hi, Miss Wendy, or hi, Miss Nancy, or, whatever. It was always prefaced with Miss. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a thing of respect. And I think, honestly, I agree with Tattsdeej here. Unfortunately, a lot of kids nowadays really are incredibly disrespectful. Now, I have two nieces and a nephew, okay? Now, they're not exactly like the most disrespectful kids in the world. In fact, they're really good kids. But I'm talking about kids around their age, okay? Like 14, 19, you get the drift. I'm 29. I actually became an aunt when I was only 9 years old because of the huge age gap between myself and my oldest brother. I don't speak to him. That's another video. He's 42 years of age and I'm 29. So you guys see that there's a big age gap. And I did become an aunt at a very young age. And I have to say, the kids in my nieces and nephews' generation, most of them, not all of them, okay? All the good kids that are out there, especially you guys that are friends with my nieces and nephew, you know who you are. You're good people. Please don't take this the wrong way. My heart goes out to you. Love you. But, most of the kids around your age, if you're watching me, they're very disrespectful. They don't just, curse in public around other adults. But, they probably curse around their parents, they probably throw tantrums, get into a lot of fights, and I don't mean the kind of fights where you're defending yourself. I don't mean that, believe me. I remember what it was to grow up. Oh, I remember, believe me. But the kind of kids that go out there and just start fights, the kind of kids that get involved in, like, gangs, if you want to go to the extreme. Kids who vandalize things and all that stuff. I mean, I'm not saying that I was perfect when I was a kid. I was far from perfect. But I'll tell you something. Every time that I screwed up and did something stupid, you better believe that both of my parents were waiting. They were waiting right by the front door after the friendly officer escorted me home. Escorted me home. I'm sorry. Oh, boy, did I get lit into. And you know what? There is a way to discipline your child without having to physically touch them. Yes, when I was growing up, I got an ass whooping. But you know something? Nowadays, you can't do that. DIFAs can get involved. Somebody who has a vendetta against you as a parent or as a person can call you up on shit that you never even did and have a caseworker on your ass. And I think because of that, Because people are using things such as the law and social services as a toy instead of as a means to a child's betterment and their happiness and welfare, there are new laws that are being made where parents have to walk on eggshells now. They have to watch everything that they do, not just in public, but also behind closed doors. Because you have, people like, let's say I'm a parent, okay, and I have a daughter and a son, and somebody doesn't like me. Okay, let's say somebody doesn't like me, and because I have that rough exterior, that, Jersey attitude, somebody might say, well, my goodness, I don't like this woman, and because she comes off as, kind of rough sometimes, really, I'm just a passionate person, you have to excuse it. This person comes off a little bit rough sometimes or whatever, let me go ahead and call Dyfus, because I just saw that her son got a bruise on his arm. Now, for all you know, hypothetically speaking, I don't have kids, but hypothetically speaking, my son could have been outside riding his bike in the middle of the day before dinner time. Oh, and that's another thing. That's another difference. Kids in my generation had a dinner time. I'll get to that in a second. My son, could be out there riding his bike or, on a skateboard, and he falls down and he gets a bruise. Okay? Now, this person that may not like me so much will see the bruise on my son's arm, and they'll actually act like they're a friend of the family and say, oh, honey, are you okay? Don't worry. I'll take you home to mom. This person takes my son home to me, even though he's right there out on the same street that her house is on, and I could see him right from the window. She'll take my son home to me. And you know how that goes. When two adults are fighting, they kind of bring kids into it, and they use things like social services and the law like toys, just because they have something against you, and they don't like you. This person takes my son home to me. I say thank you, because I want to be cordial and kind, and I also want to show my son respect. I don't want to curse my head off at the lady and tell her never to effing touch my son again in front of my son, because that's not what I'm trying to teach my son. You see what I mean? This lays on the parent. The child's behavior lays on the parent. Another example, child's behavior learning from the parent. The way that you speak in front of your child is exactly how they're going to learn how to speak. Okay, so you take your son inside the home. The woman that she can't stand goes home, and she calls Dyfus, and she says, oh my gosh, her son has a bruise on his arm. I think his mother is beating him, and now, next thing you know, you got a caseworker in your living room talking with you in front of your children, and you got to explain everything to that Dyfus caseworker and say, no, I did not touch my son. He was riding his bike outside on the street, outside of the house, where I can see him, and he had to be home by dinner time. So, because things like social services and the law are being used as toys instead of a means of security for children's safety, that frightens parents out of disciplining their children. And there is a way that you can discipline your child without hurting he or she, like I said. And sometimes it might take screaming your head off, but oh my goodness, it will get done. It will get done. Oh yeah. Don't mind me. I've been up all night. Alright, what was that point that I touched on that I said I was going to get back to? Totally forgot. That's okay. You'll remind me later in the comments. Thanks. Sorry if this is a long-winded vlog. This is just how I'm feeling. This is just what's going on in my mind. No, it didn't have anything to do with my brother. I'm trying to remember what the hell I was going to say, and I totally forgot. Well, simple things like actually applying discipline have totally been relinquished out of the fear that you'll be, quote-unquote called out on it, and you'll be forced to answer to somebody, whether, any kind of authority figure. about how you're disciplining your child. And parents are afraid of that. They really are. Seriously. You take your kids out to the park, I swear, the parents are so afraid of holding their child's hand and making sure their children stay around them. I don't know. I don't know if they're afraid of doing that because it's a disciplinary act, a very subtle one at that people can look at and say, oh my gosh, that is just, I'm calling the cops, I'm calling social services. You know, maybe they're afraid, or maybe I'm being sarcastic here. It depends on the situation and what the parent's feeling. How in the hell do you just let your kid run around this big-ass park where a dog can bite your kid, somebody can snatch your kid and kidnap them, or they can get hurt on something? Hello? Hold your freaking kid's hand! It doesn't take much effort. And if the kid acts up when you're holding his or her hand, you pick your kid up and you say, okay, if you can't walk on your own and behave yourself, I'm gonna have to carry you. Embarrass the shit out of them. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a parent, do not be afraid to embarrass the shit out of your kid. Goodness knows, you can't give them a tap on the butt anymore without somebody calling 911. So the best thing to do in a situation where your kid is acting up in public, whether it's out in the park, you're at a restaurant, at a movie theater, and they're obviously embarrassing the shit out of you. So what are you gonna do? How are you gonna discipline them? Embarrass the shit out of them. Damn right. Another good example. You're at the restaurant. You're sitting with your kid. The position in which you are both sitting is imperative here. Folks, pay attention. When you have a kid with you and you're at a restaurant, you're sitting in a booth, you make sure that your child has the window seat. And if he or she has to go to the bathroom, you go with them. Even if you're a mother and your son has to go to the boys' bathroom, you take your son by the hand. You walk with him to the bathroom. Leave a note for the waitress not to clean everything up because you're not finished if you have to, and it's just you and your son. You take your son by your hand and you say, all right, sweetheart, you go ahead, you go to the bathroom and make sure that you wash your hands when you're done. Or else you won't be able to have dessert. Incentive. Always get them there. It's a hook, and it works. Your son comes out of the bathroom, grab him back by the hand, and walk back to the booth with him. Here's a big mistake, and here's where I get to the example. You have the window seat. Your son is sitting on the outside. You're trying to get him to eat his food and finish his food before he can eat his dessert, right? He gets up. He starts running around, causing all kinds of havoc. Did you grab his hand and pull him over and say, you stop that and sit down and you finish your dinner? No. Why are you so afraid to do that? Seriously, why are you so afraid to apply discipline? I think that's one of the major problems in the parenting that's going on today, is parents do not know how to discipline their kids. Now, if grabbing his hand and getting him to sit back down and finish his dinner doesn't work, embarrass him. I'm serious, do it. People are gonna look at you like you're unstable, let them judge. They could go F themselves. They're not the kid's parent, they cannot judge. Okay? They cannot judge. You embarrass the crap out of your kid. You get up. You don't just take your kid's hand if he does it a second time. If he gets up and starts havoc again for the second time, you pick him up and you say, okay, since you don't know how to do this on your own, I'm gonna do it for you. You pick him up, you put him in the window seat, move his food over, and say, now, this is where you're gonna sit. You don't get to get up and go to the bathroom. You don't get to drink any more of your soda. You put it on the other side of the table. And you don't get dessert until I see every single bite on that plate gone. That's right. You embarrass the crap out of that kid and don't give him an option. Make it happen. What are you so scared of? Oh, people. That's what my mother did to me. I always had the window seat. Yeah, I always had the window seat. And I'll tell you something. By the time that I was 6 years of age, I had already learned how to eat on my own. There was no argument. There was no, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Oh, I need another sip of my soda. Kids will always make those excuses. Let them go once, because you never know if they really have to go or not. But if they say it a second time during the same meal, which should be eaten within an hour, you know they're giving you excuses. Don't be afraid to discipline your child. Don't be afraid to set boundaries and rules. I think, honestly, that is the biggest problem with parents. I'm not a parent, but I'm a daughter and I'm an aunt. I remember what it is to be raised, and I know how it is to help someone raise their children with them. Know what I'm saying? It doesn't really, it does take a lot of work. It really does. I was going to say, it's not that hard. It is. It is very hard. But you have to be able to do it. Sometimes you have to be the good cop, sometimes you have to be the bad cop. But whichever one you gotta be, you slip into that role and you make it happen, babe. Otherwise, don't have kids. Please, seriously. There are enough adults out there now that were not raised very well at all by their parents, that are dealing drugs, they're committing armed robbery, grand theft auto, and probably a whole other slew of crimes that I can't think of off the top of my head. And this happens in real life. And like Tattsdeej says in his video, this isn't some illusion that's happening on an Xbox game. This is for real. And it can happen for real if you don't step up now and act the role of a parent. Tats, thank you so much for this video. I really do appreciate it. You freaking rock, dude. And for everybody else out there who's listening to this video, please take this seriously or suffer the consequences. Your choice. Thanks for watching.